Hey, yeah, you. Stop pretending you didn't feel that shift the moment the truth clicked into place. That cold, electric silence when your mind finally connected the last dot they prayed you'd never see. That wasn't curiosity. That was a detonation. They built the whole thing on one fragile assumption, that you would never find out, that you'd stay distracted, obedient, grateful for scraps, busy surviving instead of seeing. They whispered lies softly, wrapped them in smiles, dressed betrayal as protection. And for a while, yeah, you played along. Not because you were weak, but because you were learning, watching, absorbing, letting them think the mask they gave you had fused to your face. Here's the part that keeps them awake now. You didn't confront them. You didn't scream. You didn't expose them in a messy emotional explosion like they expected. No, you did one thing, one quiet, surgical move. And that's what ruined everything. You changed how you saw them. The moment you saw the pattern, the moment you realized the game was rigged and the rules were written to keep you small, something inside you split. Not broke, split. The saint who wanted harmony stepped back, and the psychopath who understands systems stepped forward. Angel and demon shaking hands in your chest. Compassion still intact, but no longer naive. Empathy sharpened into a weapon. Love rewired into leverage. They felt it instantly, even if they couldn't name it. People always feel it when the version of you they could control quietly dies. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped reacting on schedule. You stopped giving them emotional access. And that terrified them more than any outburst ever could, because unpredictability is power, and you became unreadable. The script they memorized for you stopped working. The buttons they installed stopped responding. It's hard to manipulate someone who understands exactly how manipulation works, and harder still when that someone refuses to play the role anymore. See, they thought the danger was you finding out the truth. It wasn't. The danger was what would happen after. Pain didn't destroy you. It trained you. Every betrayal was a lesson in human behavior. Every disappointment was data. Every night you questioned yourself, you were actually upgrading your perception. You learned how smiles hide intent, how concern masks control, how praise is used as a leash. You learned that the loudest people often fear silence, because silence is where patterns become visible. And once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. That's when the balance shifted, because you didn't rush to burn the house down. You simply stopped living inside it. You moved differently, thought differently. You let them keep talking while you listened for what they avoided saying. You let them underestimate you while you recalculated everything. That's the paradox they never account for. The most dangerous people don't look dangerous. They look calm. They look detached. They look like they've already accepted the outcome. You became that. They're confused now, nervous, trying to figure out which version of you they're dealing with. Are you still the one who doubts themselves, or the one who knows exactly what's going on and is choosing silence for a reason? They replay conversations, analyze your tone, search for signs. Because the moment you stopped needing their approval, you stopped being predictable. And predictability was the only thing keeping their world stable. This is where evolution happens, not in rage, not in revenge fantasies, but in restraint, in precision, in knowing you could destroy the illusion and choosing instead to let it collapse under its own weight. That's real power, the kind that doesn't announce itself, the kind that makes people nervous for reasons they can't articulate. You're walking the line now, between light and dark, mercy and calculation. You still care, But you're no longer blind. You still feel, but you're no longer controlled by it. That's the upgrade they never planned for, because systems are designed to handle victims or villains, not someone who understands both sides and refuses to be either on command. They thought the secret was safe. They thought ignorance was permanent. They thought you'd never notice the cracks, but you did. And instead of panicking, you adapted. That one thing you did, the quiet shift, the internal rewrite, the moment you chose awareness over comfort, turned the entire board upside down. Now every move you make feels heavier to them. Every silence sounds louder. Every glance feels like you know more than you're saying. And maybe you do. This isn't about revenge. This is about transcendence. About becoming the version of yourself that can walk through deception without getting lost in it. About using pain as fuel, chaos as clarity, and uncertainty as a weapon. They don't fear what you know. They fear what you've become since learning it. Because once someone sees the truth and survives it, they're no longer controllable. And you didn't just survive. You evolved. They keep wondering when you changed. But that's the funny part. You didn't change all at once. You molted layer by layer, quietly. While they were busy watching the version of you they preferred, the real one was sharpening itself in the dark. You learned when to speak, and more importantly, when silence cuts deeper than words ever could. You learned that reaction is a gift, and you stopped giving gifts to people who only wanted leverage. That's when the fear really set in, because they realized something too late. You weren't just uncovering a truth about them. You were uncovering a truth about yourself, that you could endure the betrayal without collapsing, that you could stare straight at the ugliness and not flinch, that you could hold two opposing forces inside you, kindness and calculation, and decide which one to deploy without guilt. That balance, that's not madness, that's mastery. You started seeing the world like a chessboard instead of a battlefield. Everyone else was swinging blindly, fighting shadows, burning energy on noise. You were watching trajectories, timing, weak points, not to destroy, but to stay untouchable. There's a difference. Destruction is emotional. Immunity is surgical. They underestimated how much pain educated you. They thought suffering would make you desperate. Instead, it made you precise. They thought loss would soften you. Instead, it taught you detachment. They thought confusion would break you. Instead, it forced you to think deeper, to question everything, to stop accepting reality at face value. Pain didn't turn you bitter. It turned you lucid. And lucidity is terrifying to people who rely on confusion to maintain control. You see it now, the subtle panic behind their eyes when you don't react the way you used to, the forced laughter, the over-explaining, the sudden need to check in on you. They're trying to locate the old version, the one they could read, predict, steer. But that version is gone, not dead, obsolete. You became the anomaly. You walk into rooms and the temperature shifts, not because you demand attention, but because you don't need it. There's a calm around you, now that feels unnatural to them. Calm suggests preparation. Calm suggests acceptance of outcomes. Calm suggests someone who has already faced their worst fear and lived through it. And that scares people who survive by avoiding introspection. They don't know whether you're still playing the game or if you've stepped outside of it entirely. That uncertainty eats at them because control depends on anticipation, and you've removed yourself from their math. You're no longer reacting emotionally to stimuli. You're choosing responses or choosing none at all. And nothing unsettles manipulators more than someone who refuses to dance to the tune they're playing. This is the paradox they never grasped. You didn't harden your heart. You refined it. You didn't lose empathy. You gained discernment. You didn't become cold. You became selective. The angel in you still exists, but it's standing guard beside the demon now, not pretending it doesn't exist. That alliance is lethal to anyone who benefits from you being fragmented. They sense it. They feel watched, not by you spying, but by you understanding. Being understood is far more invasive than being observed. When you understand someone's patterns, their fears, their motives, you don't need to expose them. You just let them expose themselves. And they always do. You stopped chasing closure because you realized something devastatingly freeing. You don't need their confession to validate what you know. You don't need their apology to heal. You don't need their acknowledgement to move forward. The moment you internalized that, the power dynamic collapsed because they were counting on you needing something from them. You don't. That one realization rewired everything. Now you're operating on a different frequency, while others are stuck proving, defending, explaining. You're conserving energy. While others are scrambling to be seen, you're choosing when to be visible. While others are drowning in emotion, you're navigating with clarity, sharpened by experience. You're no longer afraid of the dark corners of your own mind, and that means no one else can threaten you with them. They can't scare you with abandonment. You've already walked alone. They can't scare you with judgment. You've judged yourself more honestly than they ever could. They can't scare you with loss. You've lost and survived. What's left to threaten someone like that? That's why everything unraveled when you did that one thing. Not when you found out, but when you stopped needing to prove that you had. When you chose evolution over exposure. When you let awareness replace outrage. When you became someone who sees through illusions without announcing it. You're dangerous now, not because you're cruel, but because you're awake. Awake people don't follow scripts. They don't respond predictably. They don't confuse noise with truth. And they don't hand over their power just because someone demands it loudly enough. This is the aftermath they never planned for. You're still here, calmer, sharper, watching the pieces fall exactly where they always would. And while they scramble to regain control, to rewrite the narrative, to figure out what you know and how much, you're already 10 steps ahead, carrying both your light and your dark like tools, not curses. They thought you'd never find out. They were wrong, and now they have to live in a world where you see clearly and choose your moves carefully. That's not revenge. That's evolution. And here's the part they don't admit out loud, the part that keeps replaying in their heads at 3 a.m. when the noise finally dies down. They didn't just lose control over you. They lost certainty. And certainty was the glue holding their entire illusion together. Because once someone like you sees through the veil and doesn't panic, the lie starts collapsing on its own. You don't have to expose it. You don't have to announce it. Lies rot fastest when they're no longer believed by the one they were meant to trap. The moment you stopped internalizing their narrative, it began eating itself from the inside. You can feel the difference in how you move now. There's a weight to your presence that wasn't there before. Not heaviness, density. Like gravity condensed into a human shape. You speak less, but when you do, it lands harder. You listen more, but not because you're uncertain, because you're measuring. Every word people choose tells you what they're afraid of. Every omission tells you what they're hiding. You don't chase clarity anymore. Clarity comes to you. They notice. Of course they notice. They notice how you no longer rush to fill silence, how you let pauses stretch just long enough for people to reveal themselves, how you don't flinch when tension rises, how discomfort doesn't scare you anymore. It informs you. They used to weaponize your empathy, your patience, your desire to understand. Now those same traits are armored, disciplined, aimed. That's the evolution pain gives you when it doesn't break you. You learn that most people aren't evil. They're predictable, and predictability is exploitable. They repeat patterns. They project intentions. They confess without realizing it, especially when they think you're still the old version of you. The one who doubted themselves. The one who needed reassurance. The one who explained too much. That version is gone. In its place is someone who understands timing. Someone who understands that power doesn't shout. It waits. Power lets people underestimate it. Power allows arrogance to make mistakes. Power doesn't rush to correct lies, because lies are heavier than truth. Given time, they collapse under their own contradictions. You're not reacting anymore. You're orchestrating. They feel it when you don't defend yourself against accusations that don't apply. When you don't clarify rumors that don't threaten you. When you don't rush to prove innocence to people whose opinion no longer governs your sense of self. That restraint drives them insane, because guilt screams. Innocence waits. And someone who understands the game doesn't need to explain the rules. You stopped asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and started asking, "What did this teach me?" That question alone separated you from the herd. It shifted you from victim to observer, from participant to architect. And once you see yourself as an architect, everything changes. You don't get emotionally hijacked by every disruption. You redesign around it. You adapt faster than the system can respond. They never prepared for that. They expected confrontation, tears, anger, collapse, some dramatic implosion they could manage, spin, dismiss. What they got instead was silence followed by precision, distance followed by clarity, a version of you that no longer bleeds on command, that no longer confuses intensity with intimacy, that no longer mistakes manipulation for love or control for protection. You stopped giving them emotional access, and emotional access was the last chain. Now they're stuck guessing. Are you still processing? Or have you already integrated everything and moved on? Are you planning something? Or are you simply untouchable now? They don't know, and that uncertainty gnaws at them. Because people who rely on control need predictability like oxygen. You took that away without lifting a finger. This is the duality they never wanted you to integrate. The saint who sees the good in people paired with the psychopath, who understands exactly how people exploit that goodness. The angel who believes in growth paired with the demon, who knows when to burn bridges permanently. You don't swing between extremes anymore. You choose deliberately. That's what makes you dangerous. You're not impulsive. You're intentional. And intention is unstoppable. You're no longer driven by the need to be understood. You're driven by alignment. You don't care who gets you. You care who can meet you where you stand now. You don't chase validation. You attract respect by refusing to perform. You don't explain your boundaries. You enforce them through absence. They feel your absence more than they ever felt your presence, because absence exposes dependency. It reveals who was feeding off your energy, your attention, your emotional labor. When you stepped back, they stumbled. When you went quiet, they grew loud. When you stopped reacting, they escalated. That's how you know you were the stabilizing force they never acknowledged. And now that force has redirected itself inward. You're building something they can't see yet. Not revenge, resilience, not dominance, freedom. A mind that doesn't collapse under pressure. A nervous system that doesn't spike at manipulation. A sense of self that doesn't fracture when approval is withheld. That's the real upgrade. That's the one thing no one can take from you once it's earned. They thought the truth would destroy you. Instead, it refined you. You walk differently now. Not because you're trying to intimidate, but because you're no longer carrying shame that was never yours. Your spine is straighter, your gaze steadier. You're not pretending to be smaller to keep others comfortable. You're not dimming insight to avoid making people uneasy. If they're uncomfortable now, that's not your responsibility. It's their confrontation with a reality they hoped you'd never see. And you did see it. You saw the patterns. You saw the manipulation. You saw the fear beneath the control. And instead of exploding, you evolved. That's why everything unraveled. Because the most catastrophic thing you can do to a corrupt system isn't attack it. It's outgrow it. And now there's a strange stillness around you, isn't there? A quiet that didn't exist before. Not emptiness, clarity. The kind that only comes after illusions burn away, and you realize how much noise you were carrying that was never yours. You can feel it in your body. Your reactions slowed down, your instincts sharpened. You're no longer pulled by every emotional hook tossed in your direction. You see the hooks now. You see the hands holding the line. That awareness changed how you breathe, how you wait, how you choose. They don't understand that the moment you stopped needing answers from them, you started answering yourself. And self-answered questions don't leave leverage behind. You stopped outsourcing your reality. You stopped letting other people define what was real, what was acceptable, what was possible for you. That's when your internal authority came online. An internal authority doesn't ask permission, it decides. You learned something brutal and liberating at the same time. Most people don't want truth. They want comfort. And when you become someone who values truth over comfort, you automatically become incompatible with systems built on denial. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. And alignment repels manipulation the way light repels shadow. They feel exposed now, not because you're attacking, but because you're no longer participating in the illusion. You're not validating their stories. You're not mirroring their delusions. You're not agreeing just to keep the peace. Peace that requires self-betrayal was never peace. It was sedation. You woke up from it. And waking up doesn't look dramatic at first. It looks quiet. It looks like withdrawal. It looks like someone who suddenly needs less explanation, less reassurance, less noise, less approval. That reduction is what scared them. Because everything they had over you depended on excess emotion, excess hope, excess doubt. You cut the excess. Now when people test you, you don't snap back. You let the test hang in the air. You let them sit with what they just revealed. You don't rush to correct misunderstandings. You let misunderstandings clarify who's paying attention and who's projecting. You don't fight for narratives anymore. You understand that truth doesn't need defenders. It needs time. Time is on your side now. You can feel it when conversations don't pull at you anymore. When manipulation slides off because you recognize the pattern before the emotion even activates. When guilt trips fail because you no longer confused responsibility with self-sacrifice. You didn't lose your heart. You armored it with wisdom. And wisdom doesn't apologize for existing. They're scrambling because they can't read you the way they used to. You've stopped leaking information. You've stopped telegraphing your intentions. You've stopped explaining your growth to people committed to misunderstanding it. That silence isn't passive, it's controlled. It's the silence of someone who knows that revealing less gives you more room to move.